Good evening, everyone. My name is April Tribe Giauque, and welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. Tonight we have Lisa Rae Morris, and we're so excited to have her. She is a global award-winning author, and let me just do a little bit of more bragging. This is the second time global award-winning author, so she really knows her stuff. This is really, really exciting. So I'm down here tonight broadcasting from Kyle, Texas. And Lisa, where are you broadcasting from tonight?
I am up in Vancouver, Washington, so that can be a little confusing. It's kind of the Washington version of Portland, right across the river.
Awesome. This is going to be a beautiful, beautiful event tonight. Thank you so much for joining us and being here live. That is fantastic. So, Lisa, as more people are starting to pop in here, we want to see, kind of set the stage for tonight, because tonight is a little bit different. A lot of the times when we gather and we chat and do these discussions, we're really talking about different types of, probably a lot of self-help books, maybe some nonfiction, some general things, maybe a few religious books. But tonight we're going all out with fiction. And this opportunity, I feel like when you can connect with a character, you definitely get to go on a complete journey, right? We know that books really help us in our travels, in our creation, in our identification of lots of things, because characters are really awesome and easy to blame, right? They're like, you can put the stuff on them, and that character can just be that guide, or the villain that's within the book. You're like, oh, I just can't stand them. And that's totally great, because sometimes we just have to vent it out. And that's the escape of fiction. So what was really exciting is, before we got on, I was able to speak with another author who has had a desire within her heart to really punch forward with a possible fiction book. And so we talked about possibilities back and forth, and she was just lit up. She was so excited for these opportunities and just the freeness of what fiction can do. So Lisa, share a little bit about where you're from, and then we're going to punch right in to this amazing global award-winning book, The Guardian.
Thanks, April. I am actually originally from Arizona, the mountainy part, not the cactusy part. But I wanted to touch on what you were saying about how fiction can be a really important part of a journey. What I love about fiction is that it kind of sneaks into your heart. It uses your mind as a door, but it speaks to your heart. So it's like you were saying, you can often find a character that you identify with, and then suddenly you find yourself learning something that you didn't think you were going to learn in the pages of a fiction book. And I think at heart, all of us are storytellers, and we love a good story. And that's one of the ways that Jesus used to teach some of his most powerful lessons, was through story, parables, things that people could relate to. Simple, honest, everyday people could hear a story and say, I get it. I get what you're saying. So that is where I'm at with story writing. They almost are like self-help books, because they're a way to look at an issue, look at a concept that is so weighty and can't really be explained. But if you put it in a story, it's like, oh, the light is on.
Right. I love that part. When I teach parents how to use their children's books with their special needs kids, we talk a ton about building the character up, understanding what it is, and looking with, what is he feeling there in that part? Do you think you feel that way too? Would you be sad? Would you be excited like they are? Whatever. And so we're really trying to help them identify with it. So I have a whole heart for fiction, because I think it's kind of that silent place where we think, well, we just want to escape. And like you said, we end up learning, identifying, maybe crying with. I mean, amazing when it draws up the emotion. You're like, no one warned me about that. I didn't touch you, right? You're just caught off guard sometimes. Yeah. And that's the beauty of a great story. So speaking of this great story, Lisa wrote a second book in a series. It's a trilogy. And this book, it is called The Guardian. And her first book is called Give it to me again.
It's called The Emergence.
The Emergence. Okay,
Yeah, so
I didn't want to
it's
say that
really
wrong.
with the great big tree on the front, and then the Guardian is the number 2 right there.
With a little bit of the blue sky. But that tree is really important, really important to the story. So I don't want to mess anything up. I'm going to let you jump on in here, Lisa, to share with us this second part about what the Guardian is and what adventures it might lead you on.
Yeah, so imagine with me, if you will, that the creator has stretched the fabric of time and space across the globe and supports it with anchors that look like trees. And each of these trees is not really a normal tree. It's got time energy flowing through it. It's a whole thing that messes with gravity. So if someone were to damage one of these trees, as you know, trees get damaged. In the first book, we had a carpenter who came along and needed a really pretty piece of wood. And so he took it and it created a hole in the fabric of time. He fell through and chaos ensued. So in the second book, we have a scientist who has done similar things. But the difference between these two characters is in the first book, this man, he had done this completely by accident. He had no malice in his heart. He had just found himself in a helpless situation. And our main character, Iris, that's her there on the cover, and that's him. She believes him. He has this crazy story that nobody would believe. Sure, you're from 1844, absolutely. Or you're crazy. But she believed him. So she helped him get back where he belonged. But in the second book, the man she meets is not actually a nice guy. He is kind of on a journey of his own where he's not faithful to his wife. He cares only about his work. He's pretty egotistical. He kind of deserves to be lost, and she has to help him anyway. So there's an element of grace and an element of redemption that happens in that story. So I'll show you a picture of him. That's him there. He's kind of a stinker. His name is Eugene.
Oh, give me the name again.
Eugene.
Eugene the Stinker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really tough. How many of you have ever had to help someone that maybe wasn't so gracious to you?
Right.
Whoops. Yeah. Yeah, it happens often. And I guess we could put that shoe on the other foot. How many of us have been ungrateful and someone has still helped us, right? And extended grace to us. And we have been like, oh my goodness, I was a stinker that day. And yet they didn't go after me and get crazy. Wow, that was very kind. And hopefully I can extend that back. And when we're, maybe just in customer service for a quick short time, it's like, okay, I can endure this. But like your character, this is not a customer service 1 hour kind of meet and greet and figure it out.
No, it's life
problem. It's a little bit longer than that. So you could ask yourself this question: can you offer grace to someone repetitively that you're trying to help that is not so responsive? How would you do that? That's a great kind of thinking moment. So how did you come up that this character, Eugene, was going to be this stinker? Like, just share with us that development.
I feel like a lot of these characters just are kind of given to me in prayer. But this particular one, I wanted to see a contrast because she has already understood that, like in the first book, her biggest hurdle was just believing that the supernatural existed at all, that a majestic creator had anchored space-time this way, and that she could be part of that realm. She could help, she could make a difference. And that was her biggest hurdle, was just getting over her own brain and feeling like I have to engage with things I don't fully understand or I can't grasp it I can't see it with my senses. I have to just trust what I'm what I'm learning here. But in the second one, she has all of that. She understands it. It's part of life now for her. So she takes this job as, okay, I will help the next lost person, but it's not fun anymore because this guy isn't nice like Angus was. He's not fun to be around. He's not thankful. He's not gracious. He's not pleasant. And so that's her biggest hurdle, is realizing that with this job, it's not always going to be the same as it was the first time. She's going to have to learn even newer things. She's going to see darkness. There are spirit beings that want to stop her. They're not all angelic. Some of them are awful. Some of them are her enemies, and some of them want to kill her and the people that she loves. So she has a lot to contend with in this book.
She does. She does. She has a lot to overcome, contend with, fight off. I'm sure that wasn't in the fine print of taking this job, right?
No, just to bring your sense of adventure, I guess.
Right. And in that adventure, finding and discovering, the strengths, I would guess, and in our weakest moment is usually when we find our strength, because we usually find ourselves on our knees asking for some help. And when it is given to us, those are those moments where we know that something divine intervened, because within our element, our power, our energy, anything like this couldn't have happened. There is something beyond, and that's an incredible thing, especially to understand with the character. So with Eugene, does he learn any lessons along the way, or is he just a stinker the entire way? Or maybe you don't want to tell me. I don't know.
Well, without giving out too much of the plot, I would encourage readers that this is a story of redemption.
There you go. Redemption. Oh, we got a heart on that. There we go.
Yeah.
We definitely hit somebody with that. And isn't redemption what we all need and desire? There's some real part of that hope that if even us who are so flawed could have that help, that would be, amazing. Now that'd be good.
I would say the other main part of the story is it's partly redemption, but it's also partly identity.
So tell me a little bit more about that identity.
Well, she has taken on a new identity. She used to be just this college graduate who couldn't find a job that she wanted, and was working in a nursing home as an activity assistant, calling bingo and doing art projects and leading singing. And now she has said yes to this crazy, crazy secret world. And they have given her the title of guardian. They have asked her to join their ranks officially, which means that she is going to be imbued with all kinds of abilities that are given to her supernaturally. But she has to trust that those are there. They don't just manifest themselves in crazy ways. They show up when they need to. So for her, she had to trust who she was becoming in order to be able to function, in order to be able to survive some of the situations she found herself in. So it's kind of like that old saying goes, when you know who you are, you know what to do.
Right. That is true, because you're relying on something beyond yourself. And when we are connected that way, really good things can pull forward. So
it doesn't matter if you're talking to a stinker or a nice person or whatever. If you know who you are, you know what you're supposed to do.
Right. I think about it in different ways. Like, well, just for example, when we think about first responders, they come across some really tough stuff. It can be from horrible natural disasters, car accidents, fires, floods. I mean, amazing and difficult things. And they meet people in a lot of stress and distress, right?
Yep.
And yet grace is usually given them. I've never to this day seen anyone, especially like firemen, come in and say, who started this fire? It was you, right? No, they're there to administer and assist and help, and they're given strength. They're given the ability to probably, quell some of those things that they probably want to say but don't say, because they're in the moment for that help. And so kind of comparing that concept to when we are given those opportunities, if we respond with that trust, we are given that energy, the power, the strength to do whatever it is that as the moment presents itself. So it looks like that's some of your character. She gets to do that. And what great things to identify with. So question, your main audience reader for a book like this, young adult fiction, adults only, teenager, like who's been your best audience that are like, wow, I've got to read more and more about this?
It's been interesting. It's kind of been a mixture. I was thinking that my target readers were going to be probably people my age or older. I'm not actually finding that necessarily to be the only people. I mean, I do have a lot of that, but I've also seen a fair number of kids and parents reading this book together. families, dads, moms, like the men even are saying, I'm into it. My kids are laughing. We're crying. We're sitting here doing this as a family. I even created a reader guide, like a book club question guide. So there's a little page of fun discussions to have about each chapter for the emergence right now. And I'm going to make another one for the Guardian for book 2. And then when book 3 comes out, I'll do the same thing, because I'm just finding a lot of people are saying, hey, this is something that we can do as a family.
Wow, and that's really rare that an entire family can join together in a story and not be offended or not be too lost or not be bored, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've got one audience that's bored and the other audience, read it again. And then we've got, maybe on the other flip side. So this is fantastic. And with that reader's guide, that is great for discussion. And I'm all about adding discussion within books because that develops growth as well as more ideas and creativity. I would be interested to know if anyone has written you any fan letters that say something to the effect of, I read your book and now I want to become a writer. Anything like that happen?
Actually, it's funny you said that. I think it was about 1.5 years ago, I was teaching a creative writing class, and I had a really fantastic, I mean, all of my students were fantastic. Please don't hear me saying that I had a favorite. I didn't. However, there was one who was just captured by this idea of the epic novel and the story and having this character that she personally could really resonate with. And so as we're going through, because I was using my own books kind of as a way to teach structure, and she grabbed a hold of that, and she just actually got back to me and said, will you edit my first novel? It's done. And she's 19 years old. I'm so proud. So, yay.
Wow. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What an influence and what a spark of something that really has possibly, I mean, who knows where her book will lead and who it will impact and help to identify with. I mean, amazing. Lisa, that's got to feel, I mean, when you measure that and measure the global award, what comes out as the winner?
I can't pick. I don't know. Definitely. You know what? I love stories that change hearts. When I was a kid, I remember having a certain number of books that just stuck with me forever. And most of them were fiction books, like the great C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia, or some really amazing allegories by Ted Dekker. And if I have inspired somebody to go ahead and start writing stories that way, that's amazing. And I'm hoping that mine have the same impact. Because it's like you said before, each person that reads the story is going to resonate with a different character. So I want each of these characters to have their own little arc that they're on. Even things like having a hard time accepting kindness because you have control issues. That's something one of my characters has dealt with, where, the Iris had to lecture him and say, listen, you're not cattle. God doesn't just care about you when you're useful. He cares about you all the time. So why do you have such a hard time when people are nice to you? Can you just accept a gift, or can you accept some kindness without feeling like you always have to pay it back or feel awkward about it or make it weird? So, there are just little things that I've had to learn in my life, hard lessons that I've had to grab a hold of, where I had to get rid of pride, or I had to, be embarrassed for a minute so that I could figure it out and then put it in a story so other people can take that forward and maybe not have to learn quite as the hard way as I did. So
love that. That is so true. When we were reading a story, Bridge to Terabithia, with my children, we were talking about the different concepts within the book. I mean, and it covers some tough stuff within it. And when we would talk about the characters and the identifications or the fear or the worry or the concern and just going through the motions of it, when we got to the part where, she's going to go on that swing and no, don't do it, because you have this feeling of like something's going to happen. It helps to develop such great discussions. So I'm really interested in this book to see if we could incorporate that within some of our family reading time and, see what happens, because I'm really big into wanting their minds to really create, think of something new, be impacted in a way that helps to teach them, I'll say a lesson for the sake of time, but you know what I mean, that concept. So fantastic.
Well, and I find that a lot of, especially with the boys and the men, they don't love a lot of the same books that women do, because there are elements that women really crave in a story, like a good romance. And I love it too, but I try to bring a lot of balance to those elements. So if there is some kind of something romantic going on, I'm going to step away from the line a little bit and not give huge descriptions of these things. I'll give you enough to make you happy if you're a lady, but if you're a guy, you're not going to be grossed out. So that's kind of where I try to help out a little bit and make it a little bit more appealing to everybody.
I like it because there are that moments where you're like, oh, that's great. Touch. Now keep going. Where's the adventure? Let's keep it going, right?
Right. But it's like, if you get too descriptive of that stuff, people are going, I feel like I shouldn't be reading this. Like, I need to give them a moment or something.
Right. Very, very interesting. So answer me this. When did you know you wanted to be a writer?
When I was in 4th grade.
Love it. Elementary school.
Yeah.
What tipped you off on that? What was it? Or who was it? Was it a teacher? Was it a book? What happened?
Yeah. Well, I had a really fantastic 4th grade teacher. Kudos to Mrs. Patterman. She's in heaven now. But she was amazing. And she always had us writing paragraphs. So, kids complain about the paragraphs teachers make them write. But, there's always that odd one like me who really enjoys it. And she says, hey, I like the way you describe this. I'm going to give you another thing to write, and I want you to try this. And she would just take a moment and just help me tweak things. And it wasn't like, oh, good, you got an A. It was like, why did you write that? She took an interest in what words I had chosen and why. And it was poetry was my big thing. When you're in 4th grade, it's all about Dr. Seuss and iambic pentameter, right? So got to get those rhythmic things going on. So, and I had a poem published in the newspaper that year and one published in an anthology that year. And I just kind of got addicted. But, life is full of seasons, and I wanted to be a wife and a mom. And so it was like God said, I'm going to keep that dream in a Ziploc for you, and we'll put it on a timer, and then I'll let you out when it's time. So now it's time.
Wow, that is really incredible. And you sparked something within me. When I was in 4th grade, I wrote a story about my grandpa, kind of my first memoir idea concept. And it was a short story about him riding the rails back and forth between Ogden, Utah and Ely, Nevada, delivering the mail during World War II. And he had to sort the mail. They sorted it all the way going there. And then when they got to Ely, they got all of the mail from the Pacific, and he sorted it on the way back and did that route 3 times a day on the train.
Wow.
And sorted. And I was just enthralled with it. And there's a picture of him, and we put that in the little thing, and it was published in the little newspaper in our little town. Like, oh my gosh, this is really interesting. It was not fiction, but the concept of I can put something together with a story and my words, and other people want to read it. It gets you.
It's compelling.
It definitely. And I'm so glad that Ziploc bag was open, and now so many things are here to share, because you do have elements of faith. You have elements of that good versus evil kind of concept, and how the story helps you to identify, helps you to build character, helps you to, like in this story, find some grace, which we all can do. We could all use a little bit more of. I love it. John says, how exciting. This is something where, for you, for your readers, and the inspiration. And now one of your students wants you to edit her work. I mean, wow. Yeah. So the timing on this wasn't ever lost. Nope. And it comes and arrives as it needs. And we're so grateful that the dear sweet Heavenly Father knows the beginning, middle, and end, and can say, now it's time to get going again. So that's exciting, Lisa. Really, really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thanks. Well, is there anything else as we leave this evening that you would like to leave with our audience tonight?
Well, I would say if you grab these first 2 books, just be looking, I think, in time for Christmas for book 3. I'm in final edits now. The cover's done. In fact, I will give you a, hang on. You know what? I'll give you a sneak peek. This will be the first time I've ever shown this in public.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Oh.
The new title is The Three, and it takes place in New Zealand. And unlike the first two books where these lost people have fallen from the past, the first was 1844, the second one was 1965. This guy falls into the present from 17 years from now. So it's all upside down. It's all backwards. It's going to be the hardest thing.
Wow, what a fun idea. How did you come up with that idea? I'm like,
oh, anytime I'm stuck for ideas, I ask a 12 or a 13-year-old. I have them around my house. I have 3 kids. My first daughter fixed the first one when she was 12. She said, I have an idea, and my brain exploded. And then on the second one, yeah, same thing. So this third one, she's like, what would happen if we did it this way and everything was backwards? And so we wrote it.
Wow, how exciting.
With kids, it's so much fun. They always have the best, freshest ideas.
You're right. They do have fresh new ideas. They have that excitement. And why not harvest it and, give credit, support it out there? Heck, maybe those 3 kids were the ones that needed to, help you get all unstuck. He even knew that. He's like, she's going to get stuck there.
Yeah.
We'll put this one.
Yeah, and get rid of that self-limiting belief that says, oh, I can't write a whole novel. I don't finish things. Oh, I so finish things. I do.
That is so exciting. Thank you so much for sharing that insight with us. That is really, really a cool thing. Lisa, tonight has been such a joy, and we're so excited for you. 3 times winner, or 2 times winner, possibly 3rd time. You're going to enter it again. I mean, this 3rd book, why not, man? See what can happen.
Yeah, it's tempting fate, but I guess you can't win if you don't submit. So there you go.
That's right. That's right. Well, really, congratulations. We hope this goes really far. I'm excited, and I have a little list going for my own book list. And I do have one question for you. Do you have these going up on Audible or an audiobook at any format or anything like that?
I've been asked that a few times. I would love to have these on Audible. I have narrated audiobooks before. This one right over my head is my first nonfiction book. It is on Audible. However, I don't necessarily know if I want to try to slaughter the Scottish accents and the New Zealand accents in these books. So I may have to hire some really awesome narrators from around the world to make this a reality. But I could do it.
Wow, that would be incredible. This is a selfish part of me, but man, if it's on, I'm like right there. Because there's that travel time in between, the day job still. So exciting. Congratulations. So super fantastic. And good luck with book number 3. And congratulations with book number 1 and number 2. Again, tonight we've been talking about The Guardian. So please check that out. It's out on Amazon and where all books are sold. And give her some support. Heck, Black Friday's coming up, guys. Gifts. This is a great opportunity, right?
Yep. Start with The Emergence so you're not confused. But yeah, book 1.
Here you go. 2 books, right?
Yep.
What better gift than that? And once they're done reading, they can pass them around, start this off as a family tradition. What a great way to spend 2021, just in case we might be sitting home for a little bit or something. Just saying.
I don't know.
I love it. John has a great question before we sign off. How do we get signed copies, Miss Lisa?
Go to my website, lisaraemorris.com, and email me.
Okay, that seems pretty simple. Head there to the website, email. She'll get one signed off to you and sent out. Thank you, John, for being great support. Thank you, everybody, for liking, hearting, and everything this evening. It's been fantastic. Again, fiction can take you on that place and teach you things which you might not be expecting. So jump in and see where it goes. We'll see you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, April.
You're welcome.